AMICHAI, My Nation Lives, by author Joshua J. Holler. Read by author Joshua J. Holler. Our story begins with a man having vivid night terrors, the kind that stick to you well after you wake from them, like the moisture in the air on a humid day. But this humidity consists of the thick, heavy mist of remorse, anger, and a remote mourning for people and things long past with seemingly unattainable closure. The dream of the memory the man seems to be trapped in whenever he closes his eyes for much sought after rest starts with the frantic sound of movements in the mud and the sound of struggle on a large scale beginning to shrink and become more personal. His greatest battle, his first battle, the one that destroyed his people, his tribe. Bodies lay all around him, some of his kindred and brethren, and somewhere his father's body. He's looking down in the mud, feeling desperately for any weapon he can find, which could be anything. A rock, pieces of battle armor strewn about from the intense clash of steel and human muscle. Everything seems almost to be washed out as the fog rested on the muddy battlefield in the forest of stone and fossilized trees. Something about the underground river turned things to stone. Ah! There! He grasps a small knife and stabs the man in the side he was wrestling with, and overpowered. Having crawled on top of the enemy soldier, one hand on his throat trying to strangle him, both men exhausted, both of the other man's hands grabbing at his wrist trying to break the then 17-year-old's death grip from his neck. But the enemy soldier was out of energy as the blood leaked and soaked the mud that was once a chocolate brown sand unique to the area before the battle started. In the man's dream, he was looking down as he sees the fear and life fade from the enemy soldier. He was an old man with a very distinguished face and blue eyes. The man having the dream remembers wondering if the dying man saw the pain and fear in his own eyes as he gazed back at this 17-year-old strangling the life from him, and was being baptized and reborn into the world that only warriors cross through, the veil, into a life of war, like a dark phoenix rising from the ashes of innocence destroyed. The man awakes from his lingering past that seems to stalk his night's rest. Covered in cold, clammy sweat, the heaviness of the dream almost tangible like a film on the mind and covering the skin. He wipes the sweat away from his face with a cloth as he's sitting up on the edge of the bed and his feet on the floor. Resting his hands on his knees, looks out the cabin's window. The slightest sliver of the sun is almost peeking over the smaller mountain on the far side of the big lake, causing an orangish-yellow halo of light in the sky. But the morning fog that rests just below the tops of the trees, in the shadow of the mountains that surround the lake, gave the feeling of a haze of uncertainty and lingering darkness. The man stands up, puts on his pants, black and a little baggy, but made of a slightly thicker material because it can be cool in the mountains, but tailored just right for the man to keep good mobility in them. Strapped his sandals on and walked out the front door into the cleared front yard area and crossed into the woods till he came to a cliff he liked to sit and watch the sun come up and think. The man, deep in thought, reminisced about the days when he was a little boy around 7 or 8, back when his people were thriving. They were the tribe of Gibor. People of the tribe of Levi and the tribe of Judah founded the town and became one tribe. His people are the descendants, and his father was the head of the tribe, and he sat on the council of the 13 judges of the tribes that served the king, made up of the 13 tribal leaders. He remembered the day his father was leaving for the capital. He was arrayed in his battle armor, black with blue accents, a symbol of power and wealth. A full set of armor is rare, especially with polished metal pieces of ebony color that shine like the B'nai Ha Elohim when bathed in the light of the noonday sun. And in the man's eyes, as a boy, he was just as legendary as the sons of God, in the traditions passed down and told to children as bedtime stories. His father was strong, brave, wise, and righteous. At least that's how he remembers him, and the man, for the first time, remembers there was another man going with his father to the capital, but his memory was vague on the details of the face. But he remembered that the man had a child that was 1 or 2 at the time. Then slowly the memory of his father turned to sadness and helplessness as it triggered a conscious flashback to the end of the battle where he lost everything. The man dragged to the moment he and the 4 other survivors searched the dead for the body of his father. They found him in the place where the battle was most intense, hand still clutching his broken sword. Snapped half up the blade, the 17-year-old boy removed the sword from his hand, and then 2 of the other men carried the body to a place by one of the fossilized trees, and the other 2 dug a grave to lay the boy's father to rest. In this place, many kings of the native people are buried for the fossilizing properties of the area. The bodies turned to stone, preserving them. Often they'd position them in different heroic poses in return for the body and place them in the Temple of Kings where they were worshipped as gods. They removed the armor from his body and cleaned it as much as they could with the dirty rags they had made from the ragged garments of one of the 4 other men that survived. They placed the body in the grave and marked it for when they would return and take the body and lay him to rest with his fathers. One of the 4 other men carried the armor as it was the 17-year-old's birthright when he would be made judge chieftain of the tribe once they returned home. The man, still hostage to his mind, relieved the moment when they were walking to where the stone forest woodline met an open plain. As they walked out into the plain, they were greeted by 3 armies of 3 of the other tribes in a half circle, with about 20-foot space between each army, that if you were able to see as a bird does, it would look like the half circle was divided into thirds. The judge chieftains and their bodyguards approach. End of chapter 1.